Hello fabulous writers, I'm Dr. Amanda with USCA's Writing Center. This workshop focuses on the Writing Proficiency Portfolio's reflective cover essay. Today we're going to go over some information and tips on writing what I feel is the most important and most frequently overlooked part of the Writing Proficiency Portfolio, or WPP. If you have questions about what the WPP is, contains, or does, and or how to submit it, please see the Writing Center's website at usca.edu/writing-center or see our other videos on the WPP. As always, if you have specific questions or need more detailed information, reach out to the Writing Center at writingroom@usca.edu. Our goals today are to talk about the important role the reflective cover essay has within the WPP, to outline its structure and content, to discuss the form, to provide strategies to help you as you write and revise the essay, and to provide resources so that your writing is successful. The WPP as a whole consists of 3 papers written in and submitted for college credit, and the reflective cover essay. The reflective cover essay is the only new piece of writing you need to construct for the portfolio, which makes it the most recent example of your writing at the college level. It's also the first example of your writing in the portfolio. The professors who score the portfolio read this part first. It sets the tone for your writing and establishes some early expectations for your readers. If your reflective cover essay is well written, detailed, and shows good critical thinking, then you started off on a high note. You're already influencing your scorers in a positive way. However, if your reflective cover essay appears rushed, vague, unfocused, or poorly written, then you're starting off at a huge disadvantage. The rest of the work you submit has to work harder to create a positive impression and a passing score. Aside from making a good first impression, the reflective cover essay has 2 goals. The first goal is to introduce your work and control the message of your portfolio by providing the context for your writing. We'll go more into depth with this in a few minutes, but basically it means that you are providing background material on the course, assignment, and any unusual features of the assignment you want the readers to know. The second goal is to allow you to demonstrate your awareness of writing's vital role in your academic and future careers. Show the readers that you can write. Discuss how your writing is developed, discuss some lessons you've learned on the way, and discuss how writing is related to your field or discipline, aka writing is important and here's why. You've probably done some reflective writing before. Let's talk about what reflective writing is, though. So let's get specific here. Since we're talking about writing, you'll need to think about your experience of writing at the university. What questions could you ask? You could ask, what papers have been challenging to you? What papers have been rewarding? What papers have taught you the most? What papers have you been most proud of? And what papers best represent your writing capabilities? Reflecting is looking back. So look back. Examine the writing you've done. Make connections between those papers, essays, or projects, and where you are now in terms of college and discipline-specific writing. What lessons have you learned about writing and its importance overall while in college? Tell us and be specific. I always like to start by thinking about the rhetorical situation of any piece of writing. Rhetorical situation is just a fancy academic term for context. Context is the situation we find our writing in. We are constantly adapting our writing to fit different contexts. Sometimes we might be writing resumes, or lab reports, or emails, or even poems. These pieces of writing have very different contexts, purposes, messages, and audiences. And because of those different contexts, our audience has different expectations that we need to meet in order to get them to understand us. Context or rhetorical situation in writing is the purpose, message, and audience of anything we sit down to write. Even though it might sometimes be subconsciously, we usually ask ourselves, why am I writing this? That's purpose. What do I have to say about my topic? That's message. And who am I talking to? That's audience. Knowing the answers to these questions helps us make better decisions in our writing. So what is your purpose for the reflective cover essay? Well, it's not to have to take another English class. I mean, let's be honest. In order to prove that you don't need a little extra time with composition in English 201, you're submitting the WPP. There's nothing wrong with English 201, by the way. It's a great class. It's small. It's got good teachers. It can help you figure out a bit more about writing before you get to your upper level classes, and it's a great way to strengthen your writing abilities if you still need to work on those. Your purpose is to pass this portfolio, but it's also to demonstrate your skill at academic writing across the disciplines. Keep that in mind when you're selecting papers, revising, and writing the reflective cover essay. Okay, so your purpose and message are closely related. Your message for the reflective cover essay is pass me. Or, to be more specific, because that's often the goal in writing, your message is to prove that you are a perfectly adequate, or even better than that, writer, whose skills can carry them into upper-level classes and future careers. This whole portfolio is an argument you're making. The goal is to convince at least 2 college professors that your writing is clear, complex, well-supported, well-organized, uses researched materials effectively, documents sources correctly, uses appropriate and clear language to convey ideas, and avoids grammatical usage or mechanical errors. The papers you choose to include in the portfolio are part of that argument's evidence, but you must set that argument up. So, to be more specific then, your message in the reflective cover essay is that the papers contained in the WPP demonstrate your skills in academic writing. You must discuss each of those papers in detail for your audience. But who is your audience? Well, your audience is college professors. What do you know about them? They look grumpy sometimes. Some other stuff. They're like really into their field and college in general. They think what they do is important, and it is, but they really think it's important. They might spend hours a day writing, and not just for classes. They're often researchers who are expected to contribute to their fields. They know how important writing skills are on a daily basis. They want you to be successful, sure, but they also want USCA students not to be kind of embarrassing because they can't write. You know what they value, so reflect those values back to them. They value learning. Tell them how much you have learned. Butter them up, but be subtle about it. Don't be too obvious, because that makes a bad argument too. In terms of scoring the WPP, you're at a huge advantage. You know what they're looking for. How? Well, we give you a copy of the scoring rubric. A copy of the rubric can be found on the Writing Center's webpage in the content of the USCA WPP course on Blackboard or in the Writing Center. Use the language of the rubric if you need to make your argument. Another thing to be aware of is that the professors who score the portfolios are reading at least 20, if not more, portfolios per semester. The scores give the work their full attention, but that's around 20 to 30 pages of writing on average. First impressions are a big deal. You want to make a good one. This is the actual rubric, but that's way too small. That's better. What if in your WPP you decided to describe a paper from a geology course and wrote in the reflective cover essay that one of the reasons you included this paper is that it demonstrates your ability to present sources clearly and concisely for the purpose of examining geological functions related to your topic? Wait a minute, that's using the actual language of the rubric. Fantastic. Now, what if you state that a paper you included provides ample evidence as support for your claim that, well, whatever you're claiming in that paper, or that a paper you included intentionally addresses various viewpoints as a means of revealing the complexities of your topic? That's what I mean by using the language of the rubric. So we have our context. Let's start planning a little bit. The first thing to know is that there's no required length for the WPP. Please worry less about length than providing information to your readers, and remember who your readers are. They're professors. I have seen 1.5-page cover essays that were good, and 8-page cover essays that were a hot mess. I've seen a 3/4-page essay that looked like it was written in 10 minutes before it was submitted, and I've seen a lot of really great 2 to 3-page essays that did exactly what they were supposed to, provide context and reflection. Here's an outline for your reflective cover essay. Please remember that this is an essay. Essays are at least 3 paragraphs. You need an intro, a body, and a conclusion. I'm actually going to suggest that the entirety of your essay be about 5 paragraphs, and it should be obvious why. I guess you could do 8 paragraphs, an intro, an essay, first essay description, first essay reflection, second essay description, second essay reflection, third essay description, third essay reflection, and a conclusion. Or you could do 7 paragraphs, like an intro, a discussion of writing in general, essay 1, essay 2, essay 3, a discussion of what you've learned, and then a conclusion. There are a lot of ways to organize it, so think about what works for you. Most of the time, though, a 5-paragraph essay is going to work just fine for this. You have an introduction, you talk about the first essay, the second essay, the third essay, and then you sum it all up. One thing to note is that oftentimes people leave off headers. Please give your WPP reflective essay and your other papers headers and titles. Papers have headers, papers have titles. It doesn't matter what style you use, but we need some basic info. So please include these things at the top of each essay and the reflective essay. Give it your name. Write down your VIP or SSC number. List the course name and the course number if you know it. List the course instructor. Tell us which university this was written at, because there are some papers that have been transferred from other places. And please let us know if this paper was from a writing intensive designated course. Let's get back to intros. We need some basic information which is outlined on the slide there. And about 70% of intros start with "my name is." And to be honest, I always think the same thing. Yeah, I know, it's on the folder and in the header pile. So the things listed here are important bits of information for the intro, but they don't need to be in this order. As a junior exercise and sports science major, my goal is to be a nutritionist. In my future career, writing will be a daily part of life, and clear writing will be crucial in communicating information to clients and business partners. That's a good way to start. Ever since I was a young boy, I wanted to become a school teacher. As I grew older, I realized that I had a love for and aptitude for science education. Now as a senior in USCA's School of Education and a volunteer at the Ruth Patrick Science Center, I am close to realizing that dream after graduation. During my university career, I have written what seems like countless papers, but each of those papers had helped me learn the expectations for college and career writing. I feel these experiences have made me an excellent writer for a variety of audiences, professors, students, parents, and peers. The papers included in this portfolio demonstrate a range of writing projects, and then I'd briefly mention the essays and which courses and professors assign them. Break down this information, make it a cohesive whole. All right, so let's hear some more examples. I'm going to read the following selections out loud for each of the segments we're working on, and then I'll talk about which of those is stronger. We'll start with introductions. Here's example 1. When I first enrolled at USCA in the fall semester of 2016, I was not confident in my writing abilities and worried about the expectations for writing in my classes. I was not very familiar with large research papers or any formatting style out of MLA. As a nursing student, I viewed this as a roadblock to my success, since the major requires APA format for all papers within the program. As a senior who will be graduating in May of 2020, I can now positively reflect on my writing experience in the past 3 years and be confident in my abilities. Psychology 101, Nursing 202, and Nursing 413 provided me with the most effective writing experiences to improve my APA formatting and researching abilities. These classes also helped me to focus on important topics closely related to my future career as a nurse. From these theory experiences, I have chosen the effects of service dogs on children suffering from autism spectrum disorders, coping effectively with client death as a nurse, and the effect of smart pumps on pediatric medication errors to showcase the growth of my writing capabilities during my time at USCA. Now let's look at a second example. I am a secondary education and mathematics major that has cherished the experience that I was given throughout my college career at the University of South Carolina, Aiken. Experiences are not complete without having its ups and its downs, whether it is balancing work, time management, of life-changing decisions, but these experiences have helped develop many habits that have made me a better student and future teacher down this road called life. Being from a small town in Newberry, South Carolina, and attending a smaller school that focuses on their students made me develop a focus on its students, made me develop a focus on details and errors and successes, but also teaches that everyone has their own path, which leads to different windows and opportunities. The papers that I have selected in this portfolio describes my opportunities and life changes that I was given to become a better writer, and how I have developed as a student. Okay, so what do you think? Which of those seems best suited for the WPP's purpose, message, and audience? Let's remember our context. We're creating an argument to professors that we, as writers, don't need to take English 201. So what do you think? Would either of these examples work? The first example is definitely stronger in a few ways. It answers all the questions needed, and it does so in a way that seems natural. It's well written, clear, and descriptive. Do they seem like they need the course? What do you think? The second example seems weaker. It doesn't provide the details I'd like to see and focuses on general things. It also contains quite a few grammatical, stylistic, and organizational errors that are a bit distracting. I can certainly still follow along and understand the paragraph, but I'm noticing some issues. Does this writer seem like they need the course? Now, before we get too far along, we've all heard it, never use first person in an academic paper, but there are always exceptions to those rules. In fact, I like using I even in my academic papers, but reflective essays almost always require the use of first person. Words like I, my, me, and mine. That said, don't start every sentence with I because it's also odd. Remember, this is about you and your writing, so feel free to use first-person pronoun statements. If there are other papers in the WPP that allow for first-person pronoun use, tell the readers about that in the body paragraphs. And since we're talking about pronouns, if you use the singular they in your papers, please mention that in the body paragraphs too. This is especially true for APA writing. Let's talk about body paragraphs. So what should they look like? Well, they should include some basic information about the context for each of the pieces. Think about answering who, what, where, why, when, and how questions for your readers. And remember that your readers are university professors. Always put the title of your essay in proper capitalization and punctuation. Tell us who assigned the essay, the course semester, and the course name. Whether the course was designated as a writing intensive course. Summarize the assignment and include any information about the assignment that might need to be made clear to your audience. Let us know why you chose this assignment for the WPP. It is especially important that you convey information about that assignment. Is there something the reader needs to know about an assignment you chose? If so, tell them. Do it in those body paragraphs. One of the most important things a reflective cover essay does is allow you to share those details. It's important for you and for the professors scoring your portfolio. The more you share about your assignment, the better the professor scoring your assignment can judge it based on what was assigned. Point out any unusual aspects of the assignment, any choices you've made that could be misinterpreted, and what style of documentation you're using. Maybe even talk about what sources were selected, anything that can help your scorers understand how to evaluate your work fairly. If you are not required to use peer-reviewed sources, maybe mention that. If you were required to use particular headings, maybe mention that. If you wrote this paper using a documentation style revealed to the professor in a complicated dream that also involved llamas, you better let us know. Let's look at an example. The first assignment that I am presenting you is from English Composition 101 with Professor. The class was assigned a personal narrative on anything that reflects who we are and what we aspire to be. As an incoming freshman, I aspired to become a physical therapist based on my family health. My family affects my life tremendously, and my life choices reflect them to a certain extent. Unfortunately, I will not become a physical therapist as I once hoped for, but I'll always help others how I was raised to be. Let's look at another example. The first selection included in the portfolio is the effects of service dogs on children suffering from autism spectrum disorders. This essay was written in the spring semester of 2017 during Psychology 101 Introductory Psychology with Dr. The assignment was to analyze one of the 4 research journal articles assigned by the professor and write a single-space 2-page essay using the analysis and APA format. Each component of the article needed to be evaluated, including ethics, research quality, and journal impact factor. Journal impact factor is a rating that determines the credibility of a research journal. I chose this essay because it was the first paper in my college career to use APA format. As a nursing major, it was an important first step because nursing research and papers utilize APA format. This paper allowed me to adjust to APA format after only using MLA in previous papers. Additionally, and this paragraph continues. So let's compare and discuss. Which seems best suited for the WPP's purpose, message, and audience? In this case, the first example leaves out a lot of important, useful information, and it's full of language issues. The body paragraph suggests to me that this student might need a bit more practice with academic writing. Taking English 201 would allow them to improve their writing skills and fix some of their writing concerns before taking those upper-level classes. Instead of creating an argument that they don't need the course, they actually created a stronger argument for needing the course. The second example demonstrates a much stronger grasp of academic writing. It was well written and much more specific. It provided a title, date of class, professor, information about the topic, information about the assignment, and information about why the student selected that paper. The inclusion of this sort of information allows the scorers to understand a bit more about the assignment, and it sets up a good argument for why this student doesn't need to take English 201. They're doing just fine. Conclusions sum things up. They're often hard, but there's a pretty straightforward tactic you can take for this reflective essay conclusion. Your conclusion should wrap things up. Okay, but how? Well, you want to look both backwards and forwards in terms of your writing. I would recommend pointing out that the works you include are evidence of something. That something could be your skill at academic writing, but be specific. Maybe the work you include in your WPP shows that you are a good critical thinker, that your writing meets the expectations of your discipline or career goals, and or that you're extremely professional and ethical in your use of sources. What are you good at? What do these papers show the professors who are scoring you? In what ways has your writing improved over your college career? How have your classes helped you achieve your writing goals? Now look forward. Where do you think you'll go from here as a writer? How will the skills you've learned in writing be useful for your future courses or career? How have your skills in writing assisted you in reaching your goals? How important is writing? Tell us. And remember, professors are reading this. Think of your audience. Flatter them, but not so much that it's creepy. Let's look at a few conclusions. Here's an example. In conclusion, the past 3 years at the University of South Carolina, Aiken have truly helped me improve my writing skills and knowledge of proper research. Writing each of the aforementioned selections also allowed me to learn and expand upon my knowledge of APA-style writing after only using MLA format during high school. The experience of writing the effects of service dogs on children suffering from autism spectrum disorders was my first step to writing with the new formatting and performing proper analysis of research articles. Coping effectively with client death as a nurse helped me explore my first nursing-related topic and further improve my researching abilities. The effect of smart pumps on pediatric medication errors consolidated my previous experiences with APA formatting and research to further advance my writing style. As I begin my senior year at USCA, I will use these previous writing experiences to propel my writing abilities further and formulate my capstone research. Our second example. In conclusion, giving up one dream and creating a new one has helped me as a student become a better person. The papers that I have selected in this portfolio describes my opportunities and life changes that I was given to become a better writer and how I have developed as a student from University of South Carolina, Aiken. Okay, so let's compare. Which of these seems best suited for the WPP's purpose, message, and audience? Well, conclusion number 1 is definitely stronger. It wraps things up and it looks forward. Conclusion number 2 is 2 sentences long, and those sentences are rough. Please remember to finish strong. If you don't know where to start, here are some brainstorming questions you can ask yourself as you look through your papers. Think about what questions. What was assigned? What were your instructions? What happened? What did you do? What were the results? What did you learn? What made you want to include this paper in your portfolio? And think about now what questions. How might you use the skill or knowledge in future projects? Will this influence your approach to future projects? And ask so what questions. Why does this experience or knowledge matter? What insights did you gain? What challenges did you encounter and how did you overcome them? How did this shape your current skills or knowledge? Would you do anything differently? If so, why? What are you most proud of and why? Pick papers that you're proud of, and if you don't know where to start on the reflective essay, think about the brainstorming questions on this page. That will keep you from looking at a blank page, which is the worst part of any writing experience. Once you have something started, follow the recommendations and the sample outline, and you'll have a reflective cover essay in no time. Here's a few tips on reflective phrases. As you're writing, remember that this really is meant to be a reflective piece of writing. That means looking back on the writing you've done already and drawing some conclusions for yourself about what you've learned, what you still have to learn, and how to keep progressing. Here are some sample phrases to keep in mind while working on your reflective cover essay. WPP deadlines. You can actually turn your WPP in at any time, but they need to be submitted before the following deadlines. In summer, the deadline is the first Wednesday in June. In fall, it's the first Wednesday after the Labor Day holiday. And in spring, it's the last Wednesday in January. Keep on top of the deadlines if you're getting close to your senior year. And remember that ideally, your WPP should be completed your junior year. That will give you time to take English 201 prior to your upper level courses if needed. There's quite a bit of writing that happens in upper level courses, so you want to make sure you're prepared. The Writing Center is always happy to help you compile the WPP and even revise and edit the papers you're submitting. Let us help you make certain that your portfolio showcases your best work. Thanks for attending today's workshop on the WPP Reflective Cover Essay. If you have questions or concerns, please reach out to us at writingroom@usca.edu. During the university's shutdown for the COVID-19 pandemic, our hours are Monday through Thursday, 12 to 4 p.m. by appointment only. You need to email us at writingroom@usca.edu to set up an appointment. When you get a hold of us, please let us know what date, time you're available, and let us know that you're working on the WPP. We are currently unable to receive phone calls or retrieve messages from our voicemail at school, so don't call. Email us. Thanks.